Did somebody call the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Because I think it's pizza time. Or at least, I hope so. That's right, we are back with episode 13 of Cooking with Glenn, and today we are going to try to make homemade pizza. I say try to because it's been years since I've done this, but hopefully this is one of those skills that once you know how to do it, it kind of sticks with you, like riding a bike. Now, for anyone who knows my family, you know my dad has been or was in the pizza industry for a decent amount of time, and he used to always make homemade pizza for the family or for when, my friends used to come over, and everyone was very impressed. Now, from a young age, I used to help him make them, and this is probably only the third time I've tried to do this on my own, and it's been probably 5-6 years since the last time I tried to do this, and I'm hoping this all goes smoothly. So, I have everything kind of laid out here. I have a pizza brick because I've always been a big fan of doing the brick in the oven because it adds a nice crispiness. And what we have here is it's like a garlic herbs and cheese pizza dough that I got from Trader Joe's. On the brick, you might be wondering what I have here. Well, so traditionally, what my dad used to always do, probably not to this amount, was on the brick, you want to kind of put some flour and cornmeal. Now, cornmeal helps the dough when you're rolling it out, when it's baking, not stick to the pizza brick. It's a little known trick that some people know, some people don't. But the biggest interesting hurdle with pizza, because pizza seems very simple, is rolling out the dough. Now, when I was younger, I used to be able to spin it just a little bit. I don't know if that's still going to be the case, so in case of that, we did bring out the roller. In case we need to cheat a little bit, I would like this video to seem as authentic as possible, to the fact that even if I mess up this dough, I did buy a spare one. It's a different brand, it's a different type of dough, but hopefully somewhere along the line, today, we get a pizza made. And look at that process. Now, I did let this dough sit overnight, and we're going to start with trying to just roll it around in the flour and the cornmeal a little bit. I want to actually roll it out a little bit because it is already kind of in a round shape. Now, one of the biggest things I've learned with when I cook pizza, when I make it, I never can get it into an actual oval shape. So what you kind of want to do is spin it around a little bit. You want to kind of get the dough stretched, right? You want to stretch it out. This is my lame excuse for tossing pizza dough because, like I said, it's been a while and I'm not 100% positive that I'm going to be able to do this properly. So, in the risk of embarrassment, we're going to definitely roll this out. I'm going to try to make this around the same length as the brick. This is going to definitely have a lot of flour on the bottom of it, but that might not, actually it might not, because the flour might not fully cook into the dough as much. This is definitely a lot easier. I don't know why I wasn't even a good roller when I was younger. Now, this at this point is looking like it's probably going to be like a thin crust pizza. But you know what? We are going to do some tricks. We're going to make something very interesting because we're going to make this pizza my way. Now, you want to continue to stretch this out. The thing is, you don't want to stretch it too thin that the pizza itself ends up, the dough itself ends up breaking. And that's going to be one of the big things here, is I'm great at ripping dough. The backup plan was to make some kind of calzone if this fell apart, but this actually stretched out relatively nice. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to work on doing how I like to do the toppings. So for toppings, I did get a 4-blend Quattro Formaggio cheese blend from Trader Joe's. And we're going to do mushrooms and pepperoni as well as pizza sauce because naturally. Now, I would have loved to make my own sauce, but we're going to do this a little different because I don't think the full-on capabilities to do my own sauce in a way that would do it justice. But I'm actually very happy that this dough shaped really nice. This is probably the roundest I've ever made pizza dough. Down here, you can see I'm still trying to work with it. It is a little bit of a hassle. And I do want to get a little bit of a crustiness to this. So here's how I do this. I usually try to make a little bit of a stuffed crust. Now, traditionally I've seen people, not traditionally, I want to say, when people do stuffed crust, I've seen people put cheese sticks around the sides. But we're going to use the quattro formaggio in an interesting way, because we're going to make the crust before we throw the sauce and stuff on it. So I'm going to adjust the camera a little bit and hope I can give you guys a better view as to how this is going to come out. Alright, so you guys see I have the dough all nice here. What we're going to do is we're going to take some of that 4-blend cheese and we're going to kind of sprinkle it around the edges. And you're going to see why I'm doing that. We definitely have enough. And the only reason I decided to make this a stuffed crust is because I definitely am going to have enough cheese. Now, I'm not going to make it super duper stuffed, just for, you know, purposes. And we're going to kind of cheat and make the crust there, because I do like a crusty pizza. That kind of sounded weird, but, you know, you guys definitely understand. You know, coming from New Jersey, New York area, thin crust pizza isn't really the vibe. It's kind of a nice, I don't want to say a bready pie, because that makes you think like a Chicago deep dish, but it's a fluffy-ish pie in the crust area a lot of the times. And, you know, you guys can tell I'm making a mess here, so I'm going to have a nice little cleanup period later. But, you know, if the pizza comes out good, that's really what matters. Now, what we're going to do, as you're going to see momentarily, is after I lay this out, we're going to kind of just fold it in on itself, you know, which is going to make the crust stuff. So, I probably want to do this in a way that's kind of like this. And you can kind of also still pull the dough out a little bit as you're doing this, so you can regain a little bit of the surface area on the pizza. Now, this is going to cook very interestingly. I do have the oven already preheating to 450 degrees. Pizza you usually want to do around 450 to 500 degrees, just to make sure everything's cooked. I also want to make sure this is rolling in nice, not like kind of popping back out like it's doing. But that's because we're trying to fold it in. It's going to kind of melt into itself anyway, so it's not going to be that big of an issue. Now, the fun part about what we're about to do next, we want to make sure this is nicer, just a little bit, is it's time to put the sauce on. Now, what I want to do first to make this a little different is let's put some of the toppings on first. I want to make this, you know, build it up kind of so you have your playing field here. So we're going to put 2 of my favorite toppings on here. We got some mushrooms and we got some pepperoni. So first let's just do, I want to say a handful of mushrooms. You know, we're going to put that on first because we're going to do what I want to say is going to be like a double layer. And you're going to see, well, actually, you know what? No, we don't want to do it this way because we need to put the sauce on first. So we'll put those back for now because we're going to need to spread the sauce. So I don't know what I was thinking with that. Alright, so I do have some Trader Joe's pizza sauce. Let's open it. I should have probably pre-opened this because it might have been a little tough. Now this smells very robust. It kind of smells like a tombstone sauce. You don't want to throw a whole lot on here because we're going to need to spread it out. I love sauce on my pizza. So we're going to kind of play this field a little bit just to see what we get out of here so far. And if we have to add more, we'll, you know, add more. So you want to, like I said, make sure this is evenly spread out. If you run out of space, that's fine. Some people like more of a cheesy pie. I like a nice even distribution of things, you know, because it just works. It works out better. It's going to work out better for flavor. And, you know, we are here to try to see how well this pizza can come out. It's funny because the sauce looks more like ketchup than it does sauce, but it smells really, really nice. So I'm hoping flavor-wise it holds its composition. Now you guys can see this is going to be a nice, like, floury crust, which, you know, might be for some people, might not be. Over here I do have some big gloops of sauce I'm going to want to move around. And let's kind of go on from there. Now, like I said, I do want this to be saucy, and I'm afraid that when I cook it, as you can see, the oven's ready. I'm afraid that when I cook it, it's gonna, I don't want to say evaporate, but there's not gonna be enough sauce. So we're gonna fill in some of these little spots with some extra sauce. And then just kind of move it around one last time. And I think that's gonna be enough sauce. You know, I hope I'm doing this pizza justice so far. So, Dad, if you're watching this, feel free to criticize me, because, you know, it's the only way it's going to get better. So, let's now put the mushrooms on. We're going to do the mushrooms, and then we'll do some pepperoni, right? But then we're going to super top it, basically. Because we're going to then put the cheese on, and then do another, like, extra layer kind of on top. These mushrooms on this pizza already smell beautiful. We're going to just put like 2 there. Now let's do some pepperoni. You know, you never like them skimping on the toppings when you order pizza. So we're not going to skimp on the toppings here. Especially because we are sitting here trying to make the best darn pizza we can. Now I've actually read some places that putting the toppings on first before the cheese is like the best way to do it. I've never done it that way because that's kind of just not, you know, the vibe I was brought into. And you guys can use any toppings, obviously, that you want on this. So we're going to make this very cheesy. Pizza is probably very, very unhealthy, high in calories, but it is what it is. This is for demonstration purposes only. So now we're going to take some of that 4-blend cheese again, if you guys can see it, and start doing the sprinkle. That's right, I said we're doing the sprinkle. And you want to make sure you get this cheese everywhere. For some reason, I feel like I'm really decent at spreading cheese out. It's because you just gotta feel it out. Now, this cheese is gonna melt very nice. It probably is gonna end up being an extra cheese pizza. Cool, so that looks like that's enough cheese. We're gonna eye it up, and then we're gonna do, like I said, one little last layer of toppings. Not like a super amount, but I feel like it would just, we don't want to use that mushroom, that's a big mushroom. I feel like it would just come out looking prettier this way. The mixture of like the toppings in that sense, and you know, just a little bit more pepperoni. So now, with that being said, I think this pizza is going to be great when it comes out, especially as a home-style pizza. Like I said, we're going to want to make sure this crust is still intact. And it also, the further in we can put it, the better, because it'll add a nice little blend to how the overall sauce to crust ratio is. So let's put this bad boy in the oven. Now, you guys see this beautiful pizza. You can barely see my face, but to some people that might be a benefit. Now we're going to put this in the oven at 450. We're going to cook it for about 15 to 16, maybe 17 minutes. You know, you want to make sure the crust gets crispy, the crust gets cooked. This is raw dough, and that all the cheese melts, and that it comes out looking and smelling beautifully. When that's done, then we're going to slice it up. You know, it's not going to be too thick of a pie, and we're going to see how it turned out. So let's put it in the oven. Be careful not to burn yourself. Put it in there. And we'll do, like I said, let's start with 16 minutes, and we'll go from there. We'll see how well this turns out. And I'm going to do a little bit of a cleanup in the meantime. I just wanted to show you guys like the oven view. As you can see, this is cooking very nice. The crust doesn't seem to be cooking as quick as I want it to, but I've never been much of a baker, so that might be normal. We still have about 12 minutes left on the counter. So let's see in 12 minutes if this comes out as nice as it's looking. You can see there's a big actual air bubble going on in the middle over there, so that part is definitely cooking. Hopefully that deflates, because there's no reason that should be popping up the way it is. It was, you know, it was all rolled out. but so far, so good. So guys, the pizza is done, the pizza's out of the oven, and I'll tell you, it looks really nice. I'm a little skeptical about it though, because there was that air bubble. So I'm going to show you guys what it looks like fully cooked, and I cooked it a little extra well done. You can kind of still see where that air bubble is, and I'm going to work on getting this sliced up a little bit, and then trying some. We're still going to let it cool down. It does seem to be a little stuck onto the brick, which I hope I can kind of like work its way out when I cut it with like a spatula. But let me go ahead. We're going to get that first cut, and then I'll go ahead and try it for you guys once it cools down a little bit more. So the first hit is always most important. Now, like I said, I am a little worried because it is kind of stuck to the brick a little bit. So I don't know how it cooked unless it's just kind of stuck because of the cornmeal, which the cornmeal and the flour was supposed to work in a sense where it didn't get it stuck. But I do like, if you guys saw when I held it up, it has that nice like cooked crust. So yeah, let's work on cutting this and seeing what we got. Hopefully this is a fully cooked pizza. Fingers crossed, because you don't want to be eating raw dough. And this did cool down actually a substantial amount. So we're going to cut it. These slices are going to be very, very disproportional. It kind of does seem like it is more of a thin crust on the bottom, which I'm a little iffy with, just because that could mean that's why it's sticking. Is it like 100% stuck through? So let me cut this up, and then we'll do the review once I can get some of this off of the brick. All right, guys. So we did have to end up putting this back in the oven a little bit long, because what I realized, and it's probably because I didn't turn the pizza as I was cooking it, is the consistency of the dough wasn't really fully cooked in. Now, I did want to grab a slice here, or what we can of a slice. What's happening here is the dough is too thin. That's probably a mistake I made by stretching this out far enough, or as far as I did. But let's grab a slice, or at least part of a slice here, and at least taste test it, because it does smell nice. It is a little extra well done, but the bottom is really nicely cooked. Like I said, it all came down to, I think, the consistency of the dough and needing to have more of it, basically. If you look, this is more like of a flatbread, I think, than it is of a pizza. And that really comes down to, I guess, the way I rolled out the dough. Maybe I stretched it too thin, accounting for, how it was going to cook. But let's at least do a taste test of this and see what we have, because not all of these slices survived based on the sheer fact that just they're too thin. However, to my delight, it at least really, really tastes good. These ingredients came together in a way that made this very flavorful. And I want to try the crust out. As you can see, the crust definitely cooked well. There was a nice little bunch of a bite there. It is cheesy. What I noticed too, because of this being too thin, is a lot of the cheese in the crust area started seeping through. But with as much of a failure as this is, it's still somewhat of a success, because I realized what went wrong here, and it does still taste good. So in all honesty, if the dough was just a little thicker, which is probably my problem for making this as big as it was, this would have been fantastic. Like I said, one thing I realized is definitely turn this in the oven while it's in there. I didn't do that. I did end up having to put it in a little bit longer to cook it, which is what made it like super well done. But this might be a recipe that I go back to redeem myself in the future on a future episode, because taste-wise, it's perfectly fine. It's edible, it's cooked, it's just very thin. And that's the one thing I have to work on. As a flatbread, it probably would have worked out better. As a pizza, not so much. But every mistake in the kitchen is a learning experience as long as the food is cooked. Because I know this won't get me sick. It's just not as much of a success that I would have wanted it to be. But for what it's worth, it's not bad. The crust came out nice and fiery with the cornmeal. It looks, honestly, like a nice, well done, traditional thin crust pie without the consistency in the crust. So, with that being said, if you guys think you know what I did wrong here, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. I wanted to make this visible that I wasn't just going to give up on this episode when it didn't turn out well, because I really wanted to see what this pizza was going to taste like, and not every episode is probably going to be a success, especially when you don't practice making it beforehand, and you just kind of wing it as you're going. So with that being said, guys, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you for tuning in to episode 13 of Cooking with Glenn. I will probably salvage what I can of this because it is tasty. And until next time, I'll catch you later. See ya. Bye.